I refuse to think that a lot of those new boaters are going to go, okay, well, this is over, so I'm just going to park my boat and do something else. A lot of those folks they're going to continue boating and get more into it and bring more people in.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Hey, welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. So if you listen to the show, you know I'm a huge fan of fishing from a pontoon. I've had pontoons for almost 6 years now, and the versatility is just unmatched. When I first started thinking about getting a boat, I had a very limited budget in mind, so a pontoon wasn't even really in the realm of consideration for me. I was looking at maybe a small bass tracker or a small deep V boat, something newer so I wouldn't have to worry so much about mechanical issues while out on the water, since I figured I'd mostly be out there by myself. At the same time, my parents were toying around with the idea of getting a new boat or fixing up their old alumina craft. And they had mentioned going the pontoon route a couple of times. So one day while I was scrolling Facebook, an ad came up for Qwest pontoons. If I recall, I think it was the Go-Getter model, which is the smallest version that they make. I'd never seen a pontoon so small, but I thought it would be perfect for me. It was well equipped for fishing, and I could do other things on it, like invite a couple friends and write some songs. I thought maybe since it was smaller, it just might be something I could work into my budget. So on a whim, I reached out to Qwest. At the time, Brad Dupuy, who is now over Angler Qwest, the Angler Qwest line, which is really tailored for diehard anglers wanting to target specific species on a pontoon, and he was my main point of contact. He assured me that they could build me a pontoon within my budget, and that was so exciting to me. So I started picking out colors and customizing the layout. And Terry Glover was the regional sales manager at the time for my region, and so he also helped me quite a bit through the process, and we got to meet in person at the Nashville Boat Show in January of 2015. We put in the order for my pontoon through Anderson Marine, my local dealer here in Old Hickory, Tennessee. And by March, I took delivery of my brand new Qwest pontoon, which I'd already picked out a name for. I had the decal made, named it Marble Eye, and that was named after my favorite fish, the walleye, and the rest is history. Well, I've since had the opportunity to try out and show off a couple different larger Qwest pontoons, actually tri-toons, and they're so nice. And as a training captain, I've had the opportunity to drive a lot of different brands of pontoons, and to me, none can compare to Qwest. They put a lot of thought into design and quality, and one of the biggest things I've noticed after being behind the wheel of so many different brands is that the comfort level of being behind a Qwest, they have it set up just right. A lot of the other boats, while the seats might be comfortable, I feel like I'm sinking down so low, and I'm not super tall. I'm only 5'3", but regardless of that, even taller people that I've had on different pontoons feel the same way, that you just sit down so low that you feel like you almost have to stand up to be able to see, or have a booster seat of some sort. And I just don't have that issue with Qwest pontoons. They really thought out the design really, really, really well. They listen to customers' feedback and take all of that stuff into consideration when they're redesigning and improving. And we kind of mentioned this in our conversation today, but it's almost to the point where it's like, how do you improve upon it at this point? It's there, you know? So there are a few tweaks and little things here and there that they keep rolling out. So you'll hear about some of that on today's episode. So I'm going to catch up with my friend Terry Glover, who is now, he's moved on from regional sales manager to national sales manager, and I've had him on the show before, but I'm excited to get to share with you our conversation where Terry gives some insight on 2020, what that's been like for boat manufacturers, and we're going to talk about some of those things coming in 2021 for Qwest pontoons and more. So I had a little snafu in my recording equipment at the very beginning of our conversation. Basically, we just started off by talking about the Nashville Boat Show back in January of this year and how neither of us really had any idea what was about to transpire with the pandemic and the majority of the rest of the shows getting shut down. And Terry was in the middle of talking about one of the early boat shows in Michigan, and we'll jump into our conversation right there. Enjoy. I remember I was at my last big show of the year, which was the Bassmaster Classic, when people were really starting to freak out. And I feel like we kind of, now that we know what we know, dodged a little bit of a bullet because, you know, there were a lot of people at that Bassmaster Classic, and that was in March. And so we were just getting home, and then that's when all the big shows started getting canceled, like immediately after that. So I know.
Yeah. Well, sadly, and obviously this may be something we'll discuss further on in the podcast, but it's, you know, those cancellations are not over, you know, for you and I both. Mm-hmm. You know, the Nashville show in January coming up, that's typically in January, it has already been canceled. So it's not going to happen. And along with several other major shows that have already announced their cancellation.
I figured, you know, I kind of knew that since it's in January that it probably wasn't going to happen. But I was speaking with Kim Muncie about the possibility, we've actually been talking with her about the possibility of having it like an outdoor boat show in March, at this marina that I'm at, which would be really cool, but I'm starting to think that maybe that's not going to be a possibility either. So, cool idea, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I foresee activities like that though being part of, being more a part of what we'll see in the future, because, you know, I mean, whatever the new normal is, we're still not there.
Right.
And it's still yet to be seen what the new normal will be.
Yep. So what was this year like so far? What has it been like for Qwest and Apex Marine navigating through all this? I know most manufacturers saw a huge uptick in boat sales. So just curious how it's been going for you. I know the plant is up there in Michigan, so that's one of the states that's been kind of you know, shut down more than others.
Yeah, I mean, if you take the entire calendar year beginning in January, boat shows, the beginning boat shows were mediocre at best. I mean, attendance was still decent, and people were still talking about and thinking about boats, but obviously there was no urgency, for lack of a better term, at that particular time. But, you know, I mean, it was looking like you know, the like I say, the calendar year was kind of be level with what the previous year, 2019 was. We're not expecting any real growth. But then, of course, the pandemic then hit and things started to change. And yes, like you mentioned, our manufacturing facility is in Michigan, and it was, I believe, early April. I'd have to go back and look at my calendar to see exactly when. I believe early April was when the mandate came down and everything got shut down. We, you know, at the time we had a decent backlog of orders and orders for boats that had already been retail sold at the shows that did happen in January and February, but everything obviously came to a screeching halt. You know, with the plant closed down, you know, of course the people that work in the plant, they were not able to work. We were able to keep a skeleton crew in the office, just to answer phones and try to help with any parts and customer service and warranty issues that we could. But vendors were also closed down, so we couldn't order parts. We couldn't get shipping. It was just a multitude of issues that slowed everything down, or not slowed down, but actually stopped everything. But then once things began to open back up, there was still that down period where nothing was really happening other than, we were trying to get production ramped back up, which it's
Mm-hmm.
not like you walk in one day and just turn the light switch on and you're back at capacity again. It takes time. But then all of a sudden, I want to say that for the focus on the family came back, and people were still not able to do things like take
Mm-hmm.
long vacations, trips, stuff like that, and kids were still not involved in sports because that stuff was still shut down. And so all of a sudden people were saying, hey, let's buy a boat, or an RV, or a four-wheeler, or some other outdoor sporting equipment, because those industries have they've been riding a big wave just as we have. But sales started, and dealers that had inventory began selling everything they had: new boats, used boats, anything they could get their hands on. And it's still at that fever pitch as we stand today. I mean, dealers sold out. They looked like they were going out of business because they had no inventory. And right about that time, comes the 1st of June with model year change. So we're trying to get new models out, which, going from 20 to 21, we did have some changes, but not near as many as we were planning for, because obviously, we couldn't make some of those changes that we wanted to make because, we were closed. We couldn't get them designed, couldn't get them prototyped. So, they kind of went on the back burner a little bit, but, dealers ordering multiple truckloads of boats, with every boat on the order having a customer's name. So, as it stands today, I mean, we ship a load of boats to a dealer in pretty much any geographic location right now. Every one of those boats are sold, so they've got inventory for a couple of weeks as they're getting boats rigged that they can show to potential new customers. But then at the end of that couple of weeks, they're out of inventory again. And so it's definitely been good as far as that's concerned.
It kind of surprises me in a way, just because of, especially in the beginning when nobody really knew what was going on and there was just so much uncertainty and people were out of work. And, I know my old company that I worked for, they ended up, I think they fired 90 executives and 250 employees got furloughed. And so it kind of surprised me that all these people were making these investments at this time, during this time in boats. But I guess that just kind of speaks to, families and stuff, and still wanting to do something and get outside. And so it's been, I don't know if there's anything else that you've seen that kind of played a part in that.
Well, like I'd said, a lot of the things that people were used to doing, like taking trips, or you think of a family where they have a couple of kids playing summer sports. If they're doing like travel baseball or travel soccer or something of that sort, they're spending a lot of money, traveling around, hotels and travel expenses, food, such as that they weren't spending that money. Plus, they were not going out to eat. They were not going to the movie. So it was kind of like some of their expendable income that they didn't realize that they maybe had. All of a sudden, they realized they had it, and they still wanted to do something. And what better thing than to get out in the great outdoors, go fishing, go boating, go, like I say, RVs, go out, go camping, that kind of stuff. I mean, and I want to say that maybe, hopefully moving forward, that focus will remain. Because I mean, it's like they'll say it is, take her fishing now, her wedding will be here before you know it. It's like, yeah, let's focus on our families and being together, and even you can still be with your friends and be outside and do stuff. So what better way than a pontoon?
Yep. Yeah, and it kind of, I think it put things in perspective for a lot of people. We've been so used to this rush and working, 40, 50 hours a week or more. And everything just kind of came to a halt, and it was like, whoa, what's really important? And I think it kind of shifted people's focus. I know it did for me. I'm actually in the process of looking for a camper and a truck so we can do some more traveling and be outdoors and stuff like that. So, I'm sure, I know it's that way for a lot of other people. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to enjoy the Qwest splash pad this year, which was a lot of fun. Had the 200 horsepower Yamaha VMAX show on it from Anderson Marine in Old Hickory, and we just had a blast with that this year. So that was a huge blessing. Taking people out, showing it off. I had a bunch of charters this year. We did some pontoon karaoke. It was kind of a new fun twist I decided to try out this year, and it went well. Some trips were better than others. Some of them I was like, people were singing, and I'm like looking at my watch, like, how much time do we have left on this? And then there were other groups where it was like, man, I could sit out here all night and listen to you guys sing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, fortunately I do follow you on social media, so I get to see a lot of your posts on that. So yeah, it looked like a good time had by all.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I say. There's obviously my opinion's biased, but there's nothing better than being on a pontoon out on the water with family and friends.
From billion-dollar ad budgets and arena naming rights to tens of thousands of retail locations, big wireless providers spend big to appear like they're your only option. How do they afford it all? That big bill you get at the end of every month. Mint Mobile had a different idea. Instead of brick and mortar overhead, Mint Mobile is online only. What does that mean for you? A whole lot of savings, because wireless plans from Mint Mobile start at just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You'll save enough that you can get a brand new rod and reel for the upcoming season. For anyone who just hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, and you can even keep your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. By going online only and eliminating traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings on to you. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That's mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
Yeah, it's a great platform, multifunctional. I know I've had you on the show before, and I've talked about it. My personal use. You can fish, you can recreate, you can do just about anything from a pontoon. And I've been able to use that lily pad diving board. That's been a huge hit. And this year the Revo boarding ladder, I think, was probably the biggest hit of all. That option to add that Revo boating ladder on, which won an innovation award, I think, last year. And that thing, everyone who uses that, they're like, whoa, this is the nicest ladder I've ever climbed up.
That's good to hear, and I know that
Yeah.
Ann and Corey from LilyPad, they'll definitely be glad to hear that as well. But looking at orders that we've got in house, we've got quite a few boats being built that will have one or both of those features added to them. So it's something. It's if you already own a pontoon boat, there are things that can be added to a pontoon you already have. So you ought to look them up. LilyPad Marine. They've got some cool stuff.
Definitely. So you mentioned, you had some other plans that didn't get rolled out for 2021, but what are some of the new features that we're able to get put in the production process?
Well, we did introduce a couple of new colors. A new green color that is called Mantis, which is an accent color. Also a new accent color called Sapphire. Sapphire is a real deep blue color, not a navy blue. It's actually more of, it even has a little bit of a purplish tint to it, but both are really, really exciting colors. And of course, that's what we at Pontoons are known for, is our bright, fun colors. Some new flooring materials, new patterns. All pontoon manufacturers have finally, for the most part, there are still a few that use it, but for the most part have gotten away from carpet and gone to a vinyl floor material, because it's just a better product for a pontoon, because it doesn't hold water. It doesn't tend to mold and mildew. But anyway, a couple of new flooring options that are available. Several new floor plans. We've got a few new, what we refer to them as floor plans or layouts. And basically what that is just how the furniture is positioned within the boat. Just gives a different look, a different feel for a different usage. It just depends on what the end user wants, whether they're wanting a lot of passengers or fewer passengers, or whether they're wanting some fishing features or whatever. But a couple of new models, new layouts. Other than that, they're not a big amount of changes, because like I say, a lot of that got put on the back burner. The great thing about it is, our boats already have such great features, great usable features. Sometimes it's a head scratcher trying to improve on something that's already so good.
Right.
But yeah, now the challenge to us is getting the boats built and getting them out the door to the dealers so they can get them into the retail customers' hands. And I'll take this opportunity not to steer the conversation, but we're fortunate in the fact that we are a vertically integrated company, meaning that we build just about everything in our pontoons. We build them ourselves, so we're not as limited to what we can and can't do by vendors, but we do have vendor parts and pieces that we have to get, plus raw materials. Those companies they're also under stress as well, with the demand being as high as it is, and the fact that those vendor companies were closed down for a period of time. They're all playing catch up as well. Some of the raw materials company or manufacturers like aluminum and vinyl and foam and wood, things like that we buy bulk in raw form. Some of those companies are even going on to allocation right now because of the demand. And we've gotten some comments from some retail customers, about lead times, about how long it's taken to get, and we're working as diligently as we can to get things out, but we are still limited. I mean, we've run into some flooring issues, some steering system issues, fuel tank issues, and like I say, some of those raw materials as well that does slow production down. And quite often it's not known until the last minute. It's not, it's hard to plan for it. You have orders that are supposed to arrive at certain times, and then when they don't, that backs everything up. And like I say, I don't say that to make an excuse. It's just kind of giving people, anybody that's listening to this, that's waiting on their new pontoon, just kind of giving them a little backside. It's kind of as to what's going on. It's kind of like the times where we went to the grocery store and we couldn't find toilet paper. If it's not there, it's just not there. So yeah, but please, everybody know that we are working toward that. And I do, I have conversation with my peers, people that in the same position that I am, that work with other companies, and obviously they're experiencing the same thing because they buy a lot of their parts and pieces and raw materials from the same vendors which we buy from.
I imagine, though, being so vertically integrated that you guys had to have been a little bit ahead of the game, even though there might be little parts and pieces. I would think you're still ahead of the curve than some other manufacturers that aren't as vertically integrated as Qwest.
That's a definite correct statement, Angie, and I appreciate you saying that because it is true. I mean, we build enough of the boat that you could potentially take the boat and put it on the water and go use it. It may not have a stereo. It may not have a graphic on the side of it. It may not have a cover or something of that sort. But I mean, we can build enough of the boat that you can actually use it and then add those parts later, which obviously that's not how we want to do it. We want to send our boats out, complete when they leave. But yeah, that is definitely an advantage to the fact that we build it ourselves.
So obviously we have a lot of pretty diehard anglers that listen to this show, and I know Qwest pontoons and Angler Qwest pontoons are obviously Angler Qwest more so is very, very focused on designing pontoons specifically for anglers, but Qwest pontoons, the recreational line, also has a lot of features that can be added to make it very, very convenient for people that want to go out and fish as well. I saw one new feature just the other day that I thought was really, really cool, and I imagine this could probably be easily added to a Qwest pontoon as well. On the Angler Qwest is the center tube rod storage option, which was pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, that's a cool feature that has been added to the Angler Qwest line. Obviously, it's an option that's available as long as the boat is a triple tube model, because that locker is actually inside that center tube of a triple tube boat. But yeah, a lot of great comments about that, and yes, that's definitely a good feature for that particular boat.
One question I had is there a locking option to actually lock that door? Or
that would be an Angler Qwest question. Okay. I be honest with you, I am not sure if that is. I'm certain that it could be something that could be added. But yeah, being that I'm dedicated to the Qwest side, I'm not as much on the Angler Qwest side of stuff, but yeah, I
would think that would be doable somehow or another.
I would imagine so. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's basically a lid it's a hinge lid that's inside basically a ring that goes around the opening that something could potentially be added to make it lockable.
Nice. So you kind of touched on this earlier when we first started chatting, but 2021 is still very much up in the air as far as what's going to happen, what we're going to be able to do or not be able to do. Any kind of insight going forward, like plans or anything like that, if we're able to move forward with some of this stuff?
Well, I mean, obviously we're with production the way it is right now, we're focusing upon that, making sure to get boats built, get them shipped, get them into the dealers and retail customers' hands as quickly as possible. We are already headlong into 2022 model year. Some of the things that we were considering for 2021, of course, got moved to 2022. I'd love to tell you all about those, but that'll be on a future podcast.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, we're moving forward as with the idea that, like I mentioned, whatever the new normal is going to be is hopefully coming soon. We're not going to sit back and just wait. We're moving forward, and we're anticipating that, boating is still going to be a big part of what people want to do, and we're proud to be the supplier of the product to be able to allow them to do that.
Yeah. Well, I've heard some speculation from people that because 2020 was such a blow-up year for boating, that there might be a slowdown, or even some people have gone as far as to say the bottom's going to fall out in 2021. And it sounds from like what you're seeing so far that that's not where we're heading, at least not at this point.
Obviously, once again, my opinion is biased, but I'm going to be optimistic that if there's a change, I don't think it's going to be a drastic change. Yes, as things get back to normal, some people are going to do what they used to do, whether it's the sports or trips or whatever activities that they used to spend their leisure time doing. I'm sure some are going to get back to that, but the industry experts, I'll call them, the people that keep up with it, I mean, they've already reported, the information is out there, that there has been a huge increase in new boaters. And I've got to think that, we've been saying that in the industry for years. How do we need to attract new boaters? How do we need to attract new boaters? Well, I don't think anybody said, hey, let's have a pandemic and that way we'll get a lot of new boaters. But, this is that's a positive for us to a negative situation. I have to think a lot of those new boaters are going, wow, this is really cool. And they're going to take out their friends and their family who may not be boaters, that's going to continue to introduce it to new audiences that may not be doing it as of right now. I want to say that yeah, I mean, because of that, we're definitely going to continue to ride this wave a little bit longer anyway.
And that's something I hadn't thought of. A lot of the people, the new boaters, a lot of them probably entered into the market with a used boat, and as they kind of got some experience and realized, hey, this is something I really enjoy, they're probably going to start looking towards, what do I really want in a boat, and maybe going out and purchasing, new boats and new pontoons and stuff like that, as they realize, what they really want to do out on the water.
That, and also there's going to be a lot of those folks that bought a boat and basically bought whatever the dealer had available to buy. And they're gonna say, wow, this is really cool. It'd be great if this boat had this feature or this feature, or maybe if it was a little bigger or a little bit smaller or whatever. So, they're going to be looking, potentially to be buying a second boat, trade in or selling their used boat or whatever. But, yeah, I refuse to think that a lot of those new boaters are going to go, okay, well, this is over, so I'm just going to park my boat and do something else. A lot of those folks are going to continue boating and get more into it and bring more people in.
Right. Well, awesome. I love the optimism, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens and visiting with you again when we get into the 2022 stuff that you can talk about. And it'll be fun having you back on the show. I appreciate you coming on, and yeah, we'll just keep on trucking and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, just one more real quick comment. We mentioned boat shows earlier. Yes, there are a lot of shows that have already announced that they've been canceled, but there are still a lot of shows. I'm actually working on our show calendar now. There are areas that are still going to be having shows. So if you want to get out and find a boat show to go look at some boats, please do that. And then also, a lot of dealers are planning those other activities that you mentioned, whether it be an open house or maybe a parking lot show somewhere or a show at a marina. So there's going to be opportunities for people to go in and look at boats and pick something out and, enjoy this great activity that we call pontooning.
And if somebody's interested in Qwest pontoons, you can go to the website, qwestpontoons.com. Are you going to have the show schedule on the website like years past?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It'll, once it gets a little more solidified, because I've already put a couple of shows on the calendar that I've had to go back and take back off because they've since, just since I started working it, they've since come back and announced that their city or whatever is not going to allow them to be able to have the show. So, but yeah, there'll be a link on the main page of the website that says click here for boat show calendar. So you can click on, find a show near you. Always people can click on the dealer locator, put in their zip code, and it'll give them a list of the dealers beginning with the one closest to them. They can contact those dealers directly, set up an appointment, or just drop into the dealership and go in and check out Qwest Pontoons and see what all we have to offer.
Awesome. Well, I'm a huge fan, as everybody who listens to this show knows. I know it's a high-quality product. I love all the features and the options and the layouts and the customization that you can do with them. So, pleasure having you back on the show, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you down the road somewhere, maybe at one of these shows, or having you back on again.
I look forward to it. I appreciate everything that you do, Angie.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and stay tuned as we're rolling through fall. Hey, 2020 is almost over. Be sure and go to qwestpontoons.com so you can check out their amazing lineup and floor plans, as well as the upcoming boat show schedule, so you can hopefully come out and see for yourself. If not, check out the dealer locator and find the nearest Qwest dealer to you, and stop on over and just have a look. I think you'll agree with all the things that I've been saying over the last several years as far as their unmatched quality and construction and layouts and all the rest, thinking of all the things, especially for us anglers. So, all right, thanks again. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week.